Greetings and welcome to another impressions video here at Words About Games, and today we're going to be looking at Overland. Overland is a survival tactics game set in a Tremors-like post-apocalypse. You play as a random survivor trying to make the perilous trip to the east coast of America, scavenging for useful supplies, meeting and possibly recruiting other survivors, and trying not to get murdered by an overwhelming number of subterranean monsters. Overland nails its setting and atmosphere right out of the gate. It immediately feels somber thanks to an understated but excellently moody soundtrack and a gorgeous art style that highlights the devastation of the world around you. You can really feel the isolation and depression as you make the journey after journey across the ruined and overrun wasteland of America, a feeling which is further helped by the neat little snippets of information you're given about the randomized survivors you meet and accept into your party. This isn't a story-driven game at all, and the backgrounds of your characters doesn't really feed into the gameplay at all, but these two-sentence backstories help make you feel some connection to those poor people trying to survive in horrific circumstances. The canned dialogue characters exchange at campsites doesn't work quite as well though, but considering this is a game focused on emergent storytelling through gameplay, it works well enough. The trouble is that you won't really be recounting any particularly memorable tales of survival, or death, against the odds, because those odds are just too heavily stacked against you. Overland is meant to be a punishingly challenging game, but when other games of this ilk, like XCOM or FTL, feel difficult but fair, Overland just feels incredibly unbalanced. There were so many moments where one of my runs came to an unsuccessful end, because the game simply seemed to decide it was time for me to die, and there was nothing I could do about it. Learning by death through trial and error can be great when it's done well, but it's not really something that Overland executes all that well. It's definitely how the game wants you to learn. There's no tutorial, and you're told literally nothing about how the game works or what you're supposed to do, which would be fine if your deaths were teachable moments where you learn something about the game that you could carry forward into your next run. But what instead tends to happen is you die with no idea what you did wrong. Or you died because the RNG put you into a Kobayashi Maru situation, or any number of other reasons that feel really cheap. Take a blockade I had to clear. Blockades are end-of-area levels that require you to move blockades to pass through to the next area. My first time reaching this level on the second area, I was presented with what might as well have been an unwinnable level, where I needed to siphon fuel out of my car, put it in a car blocking the road, move the other car, drag the second blockade out of the way, and then head back to my car to pass through. This might have been doable if the game wasn't so incredibly aggressive with how quickly it spawns reinforcements. Overland is a survival game, not an action game. You can find weapons and attack monsters, but for every monster you kill, the game spawns 2 or 3 to take its place. The idea behind this is an interesting one. The monsters are attracted to sound, so the more noise you make, the more monsters show up. But in many scenarios in the game, you need to make noise, and the game very quickly overwhelms you. The balancing issues are compounded by some weird design choices that either stem from the lack of tutorials or just make very little sense. Enemies can block roads even when they're dead, and driving through them will damage your vehicle, but cars can't drive off-road no matter what. So if you spend more than a few turns at any given level, you'll probably get boxed in with no real way out. Empty seats in your car can't be used for storage when they're unoccupied. You can't use medkits or check your inventory at campsites, which makes deciding where to go next a hassle. Inventory management, on the whole, is incredibly clunky to the point where any time you need to actually manage your items, it's almost more trouble than it's worth. Even something like choosing where to go next feels like a crapshoot. You're given a basic idea of what you'll find in any given area, unless you're too far away, but Overland seems to lean too heavily into randomization even in these moments. I've scavenged more fuel from searching bins in random areas than I have from checking petrol stations, or arrived at traders with hard-run trade items which do absolutely nothing else, only for traders to demand I give them fuel or a weapon instead, which makes choosing where to go based on your needs feel almost redundant. I haven't made it past the woodlands, which is the second area of the game, and I doubt I'm going to try to push on. Too many of my runs end because I was thrust into an unwinnable situation, or because even after several hours, I still don't know how basic elements of the game works, and the trial and error usually results in an error that screws me over. It's a shame, because the initial impression of the game is positive. Overland's tone and general atmosphere is wonderfully mournful, but the game itself just isn't all that fun to play. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please leave us a comment, like, or subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've got tons of awesome videos coming every week, including review impressions, indie game of the week, debate-driven top 5 lists, video essays, and our weekly podcast where we discuss games, gaming culture, and the games industry. We also stream 3 times a week at twitch.tv/wordsaboutgames. But most importantly, have a fantastic day.